So today, as you see on the slide, we are talking about Noah's 7th commandment in the book of Genesis. We continue. And today, we talk about idolatry in chapter 1. And class 1, as it says here, class 1 is idolatry, Elohim. Now, we're talking about, this will be the name, official name of our class for the record. Okay. So, if Noah's first law, idolatry, is seen in Genesis chapter 1. You remember last time we discussed how the frame of our classes, we're going to move in the book of Genesis from one commandment to the next one through as presented by the book of Genesis. And as it happened, idolatry, which is a Noahide commandment number 1, is presented in depth by chapter 1. So the question is, where is it in chapter 1? Where is idolatry mentioned in chapter 1? Let me remind you that this is not a talk for a theologian or a professor at Harvard or something like that. We are dealing with a basic ID card of Noahide. Since Noahide claimed to hold the 7th commandment of Noah, and the first commandment is idolatry, so it behooves every Noahide, actually every American, every person on earth, in fact, to know what idolatry is, to be familiar with the concept, and to not to delegate it to something archaic, passe, that deals only with the foolish idolatry of wood and stone. No, idolatry is much more than that, and it's the first commandment out of the 7 that is your charter of the Noahide. So where the question is, in chapter 1, where you can find a reference to idolatry. And the fact is, if you look at the chapter, it describes creation, it describes God, and there is one verse that describes creation of Adam. And it says in plural, let us make Adam in our form, in our image. So Rashi says is there on the spot that speaking in plural, let us make Adam in our form and our image. Speaking in plural, God, or the Creator, opened the door for idolaters to think that there is more than one Creator. He speaks in plural. I know one can say it's a royal plural. We, the King of England. But we, the King of England, actually means that the king is surrounded by counselors, that he is not acting as a tyrant. So that's why we, plural, is royal. But here also, when he speaks in plural, let us make in Adam in our form and image, it implies that he is a king. He speaks in plural and royal, as a royal king, and he has counselors around him. So who are those counselors? Are they powerful? And Rashi says that yes, he opened the door for idolaters to think that speaking in plural means that there is more than one creator. These counselors may be very powerful. So we found in entire chapter 1 is a source of idolatry. That's what we are looking for. Now, what does it mean, speaking plural, opening the door for idolatry? So here, we can derive from here at least 3 meanings to what idolatry is all about. Remember, the Noahide should know that. This is every Noahide, if you stop him on the street, ask him the 7th commandment. So please tell me what idolatry is. Why you brag about to be a Noahide and support the idolatry commandment? What is idolatry? So according to chapter 1, the simplest meaning of that verse speaking in plural is, of course, that God, that the Creator is more than one, that he has some entities that are powerful. Like he has the simplest meaning, you can say he has a son, he has a brother, he has a father, he has a wife. Oh, the ancient myths were full of that. Like, for instance, take Augustus Caesar, the Roman Augustus Caesar. He was revered as the Son of God. So was Alexander the Great. He dared to go to these vast territories that he conquered, and he feared no death because he was told that he is the Son of God. And so was Caligula, a god or a son of God. And so was Pharaoh by the Egyptian mythology. So the idea that God has a family or son or wife, it's very permeated the ancient world, and it's considered sheer idolatry. And that's the simplest meaning of you open the door to idolaters by speaking plural. He presents the whole family, 1 or 2 or 3. Now, of course, there is a wider definition of what idols mean. Come from the verse. We're talking about that verse. And what can be an idol? Here is another definition of idol come out from that verse. An idol is whoever, any entity that the Creator consulted with in the making of Adam. Speaking plural. So they are potential partner or creating, they are partners, partnership in creation, creating Adam, partners. So in rabbinical literature, there is a vast reference to the idea of describing what idolatry means in terms of people believe in God, but also in his partners. Those partners can be inferior or the same power or even superior to God. You know? Yes, there is. For instance, I'll give you an example, Melchizedek. When you meet Abraham, later on in Genesis, Melchizedek blesses Abraham and says, blesses Abraham to the superior God. Wow, superior God means there are inferior gods. So Melchizedek, according to the text, believed in not in one God, but in also God in God partners. Yes, there is one supreme God, but there are some entities are inferior that also should be worshipped and pleased. So that's the idea of partners of God. So the first idea is kind of God family. son, mother, father. The next one is partners. And who are those partners? Are identified by the verse. When he speaks in plural, let us make Adam. So to whomever he spoke to, and there's a big list of them, of those entities, we will discuss it in detail. So any one of those entities he discussed with, consulted with, according to the text, these are potential idols, according to Rashi. So we've already seen two meanings of idolatry coming out from that verse. And there is even a wider sense or definition of idolatry also coming from the verse, a deeper meaning. Let's look on the context, on the verse, what he's saying. Before making Adam, God announces that he is going to make Adam, the way he's going to make Adam, in our own form and our image. So this is an announcement of the way that he's going to make Adam. Now, the same announcement, by speaking in plural, let us, also opening the door for idolaters, for idolatry. So here is idolatry commandment bound together with the creation of Adam. Meaning, what Moses is saying here, that Adam was created purposely, intentionally, to withstand the idolatry trial. So idolatry is not just another commandment, like adultery or theft. Idolatry is something unique. God made Adam, according to Moses, with the intention that he's going to, specific intention, that Adam will stand the idolatry trial. How? What does it mean? So what is an idol? You know what American Idol is. So what is idol? Obviously, an idol is something that we adore so much. We love. We are enchanted with. We something that we would even surrender our life to if needed. The idol in a daily meaning. So Adam is now made in order to stand the idolatry trial. So God planted in us, who made us to be fascinated, to love, to fall in love, to be enchanted, to be adored so much, to fear, to be happy with, so much with some entities, that so much that they can adore them and fall in love with them and accept them as our gods. And that's perhaps the deepest meaning of idolatry. Yeah, idolatry for the ancient man in a cave was something that he feared. Later on, maybe something that he danced with excitement with. He was fascinated by looking at nature, seeing trees, seeing the mountains, seeing the sea, the powerful sea, to be fascinated by the beauty of it. So that capacity of us to be enchanted, to be enchanted so much with entities, to be fascinated by beauty. It is a tremendous gift from the Elohim, from the Creator. He made us, he planted those features in us to enrich our lives. How dull our life would have been without being enchanted by something, by loving something, music, art, science. our spouses. This enrich our life, even enchanted by ideas. But so this is our precious gift by God when He made us. But Moses is saying that He made us, He gave us those very gifts in such a way that they can serve as a potential nidus or source for idolatry. In other words, we can be enchanted so much by science that we'll worship it. We will enchanted so much by the tree that we will sacrifice animal for it, and so on. But the source of it is our being enchanted, fascinated, falling in love with some entity which is good by itself. This is enriching our life, this is the presence. But at the same time, it serves as a source for idolatry. So idolatry, as you see, is not just a foolish error of worshiping wood and stone that is actually passé. Nobody in his mind today would really believe in those stones. And even in ancient, in the Far East, when they still worship Buddha or a kind of statue, but really they do it only as a heritage, not really believing in their power anymore. Besides maybe some fool, but basically humanity has to step out of that foolishness. But still, we are enchanted by various things, so much that we may replace God with them. So you can say that the idolatry, according to Moses here, is a battle of fascination and attraction. Adam is made with precious gift to be fascinated and attracted to entities. So there's a battle here. Either Adam is enchanted and fascinated by God or by idols. There is a battle. Adam has to choose. And in fact, this is what Moses is saying in the Ten Commandments. Exactly that idea. Because what is it? The first commandment of the 10, God says, I am the Lord your God who took you out of Egypt. He presents himself. That's number one. And number two, he says, thou shalt not have other gods beside me. A list of idols. So first he presented himself, then he presented the idols, as man has to choose between them. Either man is attracted to God above, in commandment number one, or not. If he's not, he's going to fall a prey to the idols in commandment 2. So idolatry commandment has two sides. A positive side, a negative side is be careful not to fall a prey to the idols. It's a negative side. A positive side, know to whom you should direct your fascination and attractions, and to whom you should worship. So idolatry is this way, as Moses depicted in Ten Commandments, as two sides. Either is a battle of attraction. Interestingly, Moses leaves no option of being neutral. A person cannot say, I'm a secular and I'm not attracted to anyone, anything. I worship no one. Ha, ha, ha. If he's not attracted to God, surely he will fall a prey to be enchanted and attracted by an idol. It can be a communism, it can be fascism, it can be any ism beside God. He can even sell himself to worship even art. An artist can worship his art making as an idol. He lives only for one reason, to make an art. And he pays no attention to any moral issue. That's a person who errs in worshiping art or music. Can be, if anything, subject your life to instead of God, it's an idol. Not only, of course, drugs and alcohol can also subject a person's life. That's another sort of idolatry. So idolatry is a far-reaching entity concept, as we see now. And perhaps this is probably, for the three options that I mentioned. One, idolatry is just a numerical meaning, or don't worship family member of God, and then don't worship partners of God. You speak to whom you speak in plural. The third one is paying attention to the way Adam is made. Adam is made in the same verse, let us make Adam, in the same verse also opening the door for idolaters, which means Adam is made to withstand the challenge of idolatry. That's our being. Now you may ask, of course, why is God doing it? Why does God need to make Adam in such a way that he will be fallen prey to idolatry? Why does God need it? Why didn't he make us pure and complete, loyal like angels? Why made us flesh and blood with all these attractions and fascination and internal fights, struggle between God and idols in our soul, in our lives? Why did he need it? Why did he put us in a trial like that? That's the question. Now the answer is the nature of God, or the meaning of God as depicted in chapter 1. So in idolatry, we need, if you're going back to idolatry, it means we need to identify the idols and be careful not to worship them. At the same time, we need to identify God, the true God, and worship him. We need to identify them. So who is a God that is identified by chapter 1? Who is a speaker here? Who said, let us make Adam in our form, in our image. So who is a speaker? Who is God? In English, you would say, the speaker is God. Because God says, because the verse says in the beginning, at the beginning, God created heaven and earth. So who is that? If you ask, again, the core question is, why does he need it? So if I look at verse 1 and I say, who is the speaker here? It says, God, at the beginning, God created Adam at the heaven and the earth. And it continues. Verse 1, God says, let it be light. God said this, God said that. And finally, God said, let us make Adam. So why God needed? I don't know. The word God doesn't tell me anything. God is just a term. English God is a term that expresses all reverence, but it's not specific to anything. God made us. Why did He make us to stand a trial? I don't know. I cannot tell from the English text. But if you look at the Hebrew text, it doesn't say God made, at the beginning God made Abraham. He uses another term, which is completely lost in English translation, which completely ignore it. It says at the beginning, Elohim, created the heaven and earth, and throughout the chapter 1, there is no, in Hebrew, there is no God. It's only Elohim speaking. Now, who is that Elohim? Elohim is a simple Hebrew term for the judge. Here we are talking about the Almighty Judge. So who created the heaven and earth? The Judge. Almighty Judge. And a judge creates for judgment. That's what he does for a living, so to speak. Now we got an answer. Why did God made us to stand idolatry trial and other trials? But here in chapter 1 is idolatry trial. Why does He made us in such a way that we be fascinated and attracted to the idol? Because He is a judge, and He made Adam to stand judgment. Now everything's settled down. Now we understand why we are here, and we need to stand a trial made by, set up by Elohim, the Creator, who created the universe, heaven and earth, for a trial. Now the term Elohim referred in Hebrew, it refers also to a human judge. In several places in the Bible, you can find the term Elohim used for human judges. Here is referred to God, the Creator, which means the real term, the real term for the essence of the Creator is not known to us. The concept of the Creator, who He is beyond description, beyond any name. I cannot name the true essence of God. It's beyond human conception. We are limited. But the Torah is saying that at the time of creation, He ascended on the throne of judgment to create. He wore a hat of a judge, and He sat on the throne and created it to stand a judgment, not just the human, but the entire universe, mosquitoes, the black holes, the faraway galaxy. Everything stands on judgment, for judgment. So now we got an answer why a man is born to withstand the idolatry trial. Why the good God, we can ask. Well, Elohim is not a good God. He's a judge. If somebody wants in your neighborhood to be elected for a judge, and you say that he is a merciful one, he's a good guy, he loves you, he loves everyone, you don't want for him. You want a judge to seek the truth, to pass judgment. So there's no question. So you can ask, why did the good God create Adam? To stand the trial and tribulation, especially idolatry. Don't ask that question because Elohim, Moses is telling you that at the time of creation, God, or the true entity, which we don't even know, cannot put a name on it, selected to sit on the throne of judgment and to create us as he functions, he conducts the affair as a judge. Now, a support for that is also, on another occasions, could be that the same entity, God, or the nameless God, essence of God, would sit on other throne and get other names according to this story. It can be El Shaddai, it can be the merciful one, there are many, many attributes of God that appears to us in the story of the Bible as needed for the story. And Elohim is just one attribute of God, of the essence of God. And it was tell us that the sixth day of creation started from the beginning. Elohim, God sat, or the creator of sat on the throne of judgment to create the world, to stand judgment. From the mosquito, from the black hole, everything created stand on the judgment. But later on, he could assume other names, other throne or features. I give you a support for that idea, because if you pay attention, it says, at the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and earth. It was only the beginning. Later on, this entity of creator, move on to sit on other throne, like the throne of mercy and other features. But at the beginning, the nature, the cosmos around us, was created as he sits on the throne of judgment. We'll talk about what are the features of Elohim in a minute. So, saying that you may easily ask the question, what does it mean he created the universe for judgment? Does the mosquito has a mind to stand the judgment? The black hole, does it have a mind? The exploding nova, the faraway galaxy, do they have mind to stand judgment? And the answer is very simple. It's straightforward. Elohim, the judge, set up the law of nature by which all these entities should follow. So he judges them. If any of those entities disobey, so to speak, or fail those laws, it disappears. So for nature, he set up the law of nature. When it came to us, to mankind who have free will and a mind, our trial is much more complex. Our judgment is much more complex. We not only need to comply with nature, the law of nature, like anybody else, we need to comply like anybody else, first of all, with the law of nature. But in addition, he gave us moral commandment that we need to comply with. So our trial, because we have mind and free will, and we understand morality, so our mind is much more complex than the nova, exploding nova. But basically, in essence, everything in the world is made to stand the judgment, one sort of judgment or the other. Now, speaking about morality, I want to make a very important point here. Idolatry as a commandment has no moral value. It's shocking. Idolatry, an idolater, an idol worshiper can be a very nice fellow. Can be peaceful, can be a nice guy. Why not? He can. So the fact that he's an idolater doesn't necessarily mean that he's a bad person. He's just a sinner in the eyes of Elohim, who demand us to recognize him as one and so on. But otherwise, so he can be morally right. So the issue of idolatry by itself carries no moral value. It doesn't make you necessarily a better person if you're not an idolater, if you worship God. Yes, of course. We said last time that being an idolater, being a worshiping God, will protect you from falling down, sliding down the commandment to adultery. We said that if a person doesn't recognize God and he doesn't fear God, he most likely will fall prey to the rest of the commandment one by one. So idolatry in that sense is very important. It's a key, it's a barrier from falling down. But by itself, we should not make an error. We should not deem an idolater necessarily to be a bad person. So his judgment is necessarily on that pure point of idolatry. So that should not mix the issue. So a very important, as we speak about the creator Elohim and his judge, and the concept of us being watched by God all day long to see if we comply with his commandment. So the idea, the very idea, okay, the very idea that we stand judgment seems something fearful, but it's not true. It's the other way around. We are never alone. The idea that God watches us every minute, every day, he is a judge. He created us to stand in judgment. So his angels watch us and write down in the book of life everything we do. And when the time comes and we are standing in judgment, the book opens up and everything is read out to the heavenly court. So that's the idea of Rosh Hashanah. Once a year, we are judged every minute, every day, every minute of the day. But once a year, in the anniversary of creation, actually, in the anniversary of that statement, in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and earth. So we celebrate that moment of the initiation of the universe. And that moment is called Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. And that's the day that God ascend again on the throne of judgment, as it was at the beginning. And he judges the entire universe, from the black hole to the mosquito, to the crocodile, to mankind. Every creature passed by his eyes, and he decided its fate. And the angel opened up the book, and the book is read by itself, in fact. And every person read out loudly. Whatever you think, whatever you do during the year, it's read up there in the heavenly court. So somebody is watching us. We are never alone. And that's some comfort in that idea that we are never alone. But it also calls us to call us to be responsible for our deeds. Somebody is watching and write down whatever we do. So when we blow the shofar in Rosh Hashanah, the horn, here is a text, I read it for you. Today is the birthday of the world, of creation. Today you ascend again on your throne of judgment. That's what we chant in the synagogue. Today you ascend again on your throne of judgment. When all the creatures of the world pass before your throne, as you examine each and every one of them and dictates their fate for the next year. Wow. So everything I said, it's not me. It's in the book of Rosh Hashanah, which celebrate that moment of creation. So we spoke about, we need to identify Elohim, God. We need to identify the idols clearly. And we need to identify, on the other hand, God, whom we should worship. So we said already, Elohim. So what is exactly Elohim? How we need to identify to understand it a little more. How can we identify what Elohim is? We look at nature two ways. One way is to look at nature and to derive from nature what Elohim's ways are. And secondly, to read chapter 1, what Moses is telling us about creation, because Moses is telling us what Elohim does. That's why the chapter is written. So if we sum up what we can derive from either from nature or from chapter 1, what are the ways of Elohim judgment? So I can go with few features of Elohim. They are important because the guideline, they tell us Elohim appears throughout the Bible. If you don't know the feature of Elohim, you can't understand the Bible. Yes, there are other attributes of God. We need to learn about them too. But here is a chance, today is a chance, we focus on Elohim, who appears through the Bible infinitely. All through the Bible. You cannot understand the Bible if you don't understand who is speaking. Elohim is speaking, so but now I know who is speaking. So first of all, number one, I say, if you look at chapter 1, he describes what Elohim does. He built nature by 6 days. He's a builder. Very important concept. Elohim is, first of all, builder of nature. He still builds it. It hasn't stopped. And nature is like 6-floor building. And each day is a floor. And as the story goes in chapter 1, each day is piled up on top of the former one. So in a 6-floor building, set up one after the other. So Elohim is a builder and a judge. Why judge? Also from chapter 1, because at the end of each day, Moses says, Elohim come and judge the passing day, if it's good or not. If it's good, it's good, let's go on. Let's keep it, and he's ready for another day. But if it's not good, it's eliminated with no mercy because of efficiency. So God creates and eliminates. Rashi says that. God creates and eliminates. Oh, he's not merciful. How can he eliminate the dinosaurs? Why didn't he was merciful on it? You don't ask the judge if he's merciful or not. Mercy belongs to another attribute of God that may play a role in creation too. But Elohim, chapter 1, creates for and eliminates. He has a goal. He wants to build a 6-day building. He creates with efficiency, his wisdom, but he eliminates. If he needs, he wouldn't hesitate to eliminate because he is not merciful. He is a judge. And what he seeks, Elohim, another feature of Elohim is that he seeks the truth. His judgment is by the absolute truth. He's not swayed away by any issue, you cannot sway him. You cannot even pray to him to change his mind. He follows the absolute justice and truth. His nickname is truth. Elohim nickname is truth. Signature is truth. Absolute truth. And whenever you see his name appearing in the text, the signature of truthfulness. So let's say, for example, in chapter 1, Elohim appeared 32 times in the 6th day. Each time his name appears is a stamp of truthfulness. The story is true. The story is true. The story is true. So the story of Genesis is true. 32 times God says it's true. And number 3 would say, is because he seeks the truth and he follows the truth, he pay back measure for measure. You eat and being eaten in nature. Animal cause pain and feel and then suffer pain. In absolute retribution and justice, no mercy. A wolf will eat the lamb, but a minute later he will walk in the forest and he was struck by a fallen tree. So measure for measure. Men too. We are under that rule. We eat and are being eaten. Don't kid yourself. You're still under this Elohim, creator of nature. When Elohim said, Torah says, tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, it says, earlier the verse says it was a signature of Elohim. If you don't pay attention to that, you wonder, what is that? What is this Elohim, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth? Where is mercy here? Oh, the cruel. This is no. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Pay attention to who said it. It's written by the finger of Elohim. Elohim said it. It fits the judgment of absolute justice. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. In truth, we don't follow it because we have some other attributes of God who tell us not to do that. We're going to learn it. But Elohim, from point of view of absolute justice, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Nobody can argue with that. That presents the absolute justice and truth. If you gouge somebody's eye, if you made somebody blind, eyes blind, the only truthful judgment against you would be to blind your eye, according to Elohim. Or we don't do that because of other attributes tell us to calm down. So, but according to Elohim, that's the rule. That's what we should do. That's what nature. That's the rule that govern nature. So, as a builder, he comes at the end of every day, and he seeks the floor to see if it's good or not. If it's good, the floor stays. If it's not good, it's eliminated. There's no mercy, the deficiency. So the dinosaurs were eliminated at one point because they could not serve the next day of creation. And the same is true for us. If we don't serve the next day, if we don't fit the next day of creation, which is the seventh day, the Sabbath, we will also be eliminated. We need to fit the next day. And number 5 feature, I would say, Elohim created 6 days as a creator, as a dictator. He asked no one permission. He said, let it be, and things happen. Let it be light, and light happened. So he asked no one permission. He consulted no one during the 6th day. He acted like a tyrant. So Elohim is a judge, a builder, and a tyrant. Until he came to make us. When he made us, he changed his mind, his rule, and he spoke in plural. He didn't say, let it be Adam. He didn't give command. Instead, he said, let us make our changes. He acting no more as a dictator when he made us. Oh, we're talking about it, why? But during the 6th day, he acted like a tyrant, and he can act again like a tyrant if he wishes. And the few minutes we have now, maybe I'll stop here. There are some more features of Elohim. We can discuss it, finish it next time. As we move on with the concept of idolatry. So in summary, we learn the concept of idolatry from the verse, chapter 1. We identify why Adam was made. We identify what idolatry is, at least in general terms. We get 3 options, 3 meanings for idolatry. And then we identify God, the speaker, to answer the question, why are we made in such a way to stand idolatry trial? And the answer is, Elohim, the judge, made things for a trial. And our trial is idolatry. Okay, any question for me?